I'm here with Mahani Teave, a pianist from Easter Island who is opening the Meany Center season this year. And I am so delighted to welcome you to Meany Center for the first time and also back to Seattle. So, welcome, Mahani.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's an honor and great joy for me to be opening the season. Thank you so much for the invitation.
So, you are also the director and founder of the Toki School of Music. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, you are a pianist from Easter Island. You grew up far from the traditional centers of classical music. Can you share a little bit about the story of how you found your way to the piano?
Well, I think the piano found its way to me. I was living on Easter Island. I'm from here. My father is Rapa Nui and my mother is from United States. And we were living here, and a pianist, actually she was a violinist, but she brought her piano. She came to the island and just, I guess the music called me, and I went knocking at her door and begging her to teach me. And that's how I started.
And it's such an extraordinary story that there were no pianos. Originally, you didn't have your own piano, and that you were able to not only find a teacher after so many teachers left the island, you found a teacher, then ultimately that Roberto Bravo, who you were able to then study with after you studied with your first teacher, Erica. That and then you moved to mainland Chile and then on to Berlin. Um, what was that like going from such an incredibly beautiful remote area of the world to mainland Chile and then on to Berlin and Cleveland?
Well, I think the first move was the hardest because, I was used to living in this place, which I love very much. And, with all the people that I know and love, friends. And we moved with my mother and my sister. My mother wanted me to have the chance to keep studying because this teacher was going to leave.
Mhm.
And as you say, there was nothing. I mean, I didn't even have a piano. I'd go to my teacher's house to practice. So when Roberto Bravo, the pianist, came and he said, the only option would be to move to Chile, to mainland Chile, to the south of Chile, to a conservatory and study there with one of his ex-classmates at, when he was younger, Jimena Cabello. And she was to me like a musical mother. And many years later, she came back to the island also to help us with our music school here.
Mhm.
So she, for 5 years, was teaching. Yeah, and so I moved there, and then the change to Cleveland was not as difficult, but it was, I really wanted to go there because of the teacher of Sergei Babayan. I was, when I heard him play and heard him teach and just everything, all his charisma, I just thought, I don't want to be anywhere else in the world except here.
Mhm.
So I ended up staying in Cleveland. He accepted me in his studio, and I was there for 6 years. And then I moved to Berlin,
Okay.
which was, yeah, really, it's, cradle of all of this classical music. Europe is just amazing. So for me, it was extremely inspiring. I had a very good teacher there too, Fabio Bidini, in the Hans Eisler Musikhochschule.
Mhm.
And I basically felt very nourished in that environment.
Mhm. It's so fascinating that you were able to really absorb so much with even without your own piano originally. And then you moved from Easter Island to these wonderful conservatories and then of course back to Easter Island. How do you think audiences can hear or feel your unique perspective, cultural perspective in your playing? Is that something you can articulate in words, or is it something we just need to listen for?
Well, I don't know. I think each artist has their own their own reasons to do the music and also what they bring with them. I think it's evident in the music, you know, their life, their past, how they feel about life, about everything. I think somehow permeates into what you do.
Mhm.
And I mean, for me, the music is such a colorful, imaginative world, and I live here on the island. I was able to come back here, and I am here. Whereas where I always wanted to be, my heart was always here. So, you know, I look out my window, I see the ocean and the nature, and I think maybe some of that comes through the music. I don't know. I hope.
I know it does. I'm curious about, when you started to think about founding the school, you were, immersed in Western classical music training, and you felt the desire to come back to Rapa Nui. And what can you share a little bit about the sort of initial pull of founding the Toki School of Music that you also founded with your husband? Yeah, just what was that pull that drew you back in?
Well, I think that pull was always there. It's like I always think of it as an umbilical cord that connects the Rapa Nui people to our land,
Mhm.
and it never disappears. One says always, they always end up coming back, even if they live, you know, decades elsewhere. But as I left and as I grew and I had all these opportunities, I always felt a bit how a bit this unfairness, you know, why I do I have these chances when there's so many kids here that have talent or and so much desire to do music and art. I mean, the culture here is extremely artistic. I mean, everybody. I mean, the culture itself is the people. It's themselves. Everybody, you know, sings or dances or looks for an instrument or does music somehow.
Mhm.
So it seemed to me like it would be so wonderful someday to have a music school here, but I never imagined I'd end up leading that or helping form it. I just, um, you know, commented in some interview that there was no piano here, that it was hard for me to come back for long periods because I need to be practicing and preparing for concerts and a couple amazing people heard that and said, "But Mahani, let's do it. Let's get some pianos for the island." And so it took us 3 years to get the first two pianos. And then after that, it was like, we can't let go of this. We have to, you know, keep this going and let's find funding for the teacher. And then let's add violin, let's add cello, and add our traditional arts and let's make a little orchestra and so forth. So I never I never imagined actually that. I mean, it was a dream for me to be able to live here and then travel elsewhere and do concerts. That was always a dream.
Yeah.
But then it ended up somehow materializing as the
Mm.
school started to take shape and we formed this NGO to be able to channel the resources and you know the donations and you know apply to grants and projects
Mhm.
and it's been really intense, really hard because you know maintaining a school financially is really difficult, and it's not a school. I mean, the parents that can pay something pay, but it's mostly great part of it is free, and everybody has up to 70% scholarships in the school. And so keeping that up, and we've got, you know, the programs which happen in the school, but also other programs outside the school, which we're doing in other, you know, of the public schools, as well as in the orphanage, as well as in the prison with the, so somehow using the music as a way to heal and unite the community and to I also teach the children, you know, the values that come with the music, you know, the perseverance and tolerance to frustration and what you get, you know, when you work in a little orchestra with children, they learn to respect each other, to communicate respectfully. So it's in a way a help for us. I mean, we feel it's our contribution to help improve society.
Mhm. And speaking of values, it's also extraordinary that the school is 100% sustainable, that it isn't
Yeah.
actually made from plastic and glass and trash, truck tires and plastic detergent containers, and just I'm curious, just curious about reflecting on also living and working in a space that was constructed in that way.
Yeah, well, as we started the classes in loaned, rooms here and there, and at some point we thought we need to actually have a school where we can have the kids together, growing up together, and inspiring each other. But we didn't want to just build anything because here on the island we're very aware of the environmental problems that we're living as a planet,
Mhm,
uh, because we see them here so directly in our yard, I mean, we get plastic from all over the world in our coasts, and we are the most isolated place in the whole world.
mhm,
So the amount of trash that comes here, the microplastic, we do, as an island, ocean cleanups or really coastal cleanups, and we know where our trash dump is, like the island where everything that gets not doesn't get recycled goes. So we know that we have, deficiency in our energy system. The water, the drinking water of the island is getting contaminated with the salt water because less rain is falling than what is being consumed. So we see all this, and it helps us, I guess, to be more aware. So when we thought of building the school, we we just bumped into this documentary of Michael Reynolds called A Garbage Warrior. And so we thought, wow, what is this? This gentleman doing constructions over 50 years with tires, with, as you said, bottles of plastic, glass, cans. And we decided that that was a way to to inspire other places to be able to become more aware, and ourselves too, about the trash that we are producing.
mhm,
So we built in with this concept called Earthship biotecture, using about 3 or 4 thousand tires with compacted earth inside to build the walls. Tens of thousands of cans also into the walls, as well as the glass bottles, which form, like these vitraux, these colorful, beautiful designs. It's a really, really beautiful architecture. And for the kids, they love to be there. It's completely self-sustainable. We produce our own energy with solar panels, and we collect the rainwater on the roof. So we have our own water. It's completely off the grid. And it's one of our missions as Toki, as the NGO that we have to be able to create awareness in people that we have to, start producing less trash, try to recycle, try to consume less, buy less things, and just be more aware that we are responsible for what's happening. It's not just the government and the companies and the big, massive contamination that the big ones are doing, but it's also us in our day to day. And if we each become aware and do projects, even if it's small things in our communities, in the schools where we teach, in the places where we work, changes can start to happen.
So the school has, as far as I know, it was at least was 120 children that had free lessons. Is that about the size
It's more right now because
for
since we're
now?
doing these community outreach, we have adult choirs, we have the children's choirs of the different schools, and yes,
Wonderful.
it's really wonderful.
And what are you focusing on now with the school? If, what are the top priorities of what you're doing?
We have several, well, we have 4 lines, which are for us the most important. One of them has to do with the artistic education that we are giving in the musical education. And in this musical education, the idea is to give them the best quality possible. I mean, we are the most isolated place, and it would be, basically anything would already be something. But that's not the idea. The idea is that they have a good training. They have their complementary lessons, ear training, they have orchestra, they have different classes that help to form them as complete as possible, so that if any of them wants to continue professionally, they can go and, after high school, not before high school, like when they normally go to university, they can continue in music. And we already have a student, well, many have actually moved to Chile because their parents got moved there, and they've continued in music. And we have one that finished his high school, one of my students last year, and he's now in the conservatory with one of the most fantastic teachers in Chile, who also studied with Sergei Babayan. So he's fantastic pianist. Yeah. Anyway, so that's on one side, one thing. But on the other hand, we see the music as a life-changing force. So the time that they spend with us, for us, is extremely valuable. And it's a time that for us is considered, or we consider it like this, of social protection. For us, the school is a safe haven for the kids, for infancy, for youth, where there's no bullying, there's no, mistreating each other. And there's just this, we try to cultivate is a loving environment where they respect each other, where just for who they are, as beautiful human beings. And many of these kids that end up with us are kids that have lots of trouble in schools or in their families. And the island has a very, very high, like it's very vulnerable in a way. Like there's a high family violence. There's a lot of alcoholism. Drugs are coming in very strong. So we feel that it's very, very important to put a strong emphasis on this, on protecting these kids and giving them a healthy environment. So that's the social protection as well. And then we have the environmental part, which is just trying to create awareness in just everything we do, and with the kids in the school, where we can, to do projects which have to do with taking care, or becoming just more aware of what's happening. And for example, now we have this, they invited us on this trip to Motumotiro Basale Gomez in a week. We're going to go with a Navy ship and about 30 people of our school, 15 kids and 15 adults. And this is a reserve, do you call it a reserve? Like for birds. It's a completely untouched place where most of these birds are the ones which migrated to Easter Island, to Rapa Nui, and ended up inhabiting, or our place. But this is their nest, and so we have history in our oral tradition that speaks about this place, like ancient traditions. We have a song which the kids sing. They've been singing it for a couple of years, which tells these stories of these migrating birds, and brought by the, it talks about the gods in the ancient times and according to oral tradition. So it's something, you put something like that for them, and they really, work hard and put so much of themselves just to be able to do this wonderful trip. And they'll be performing for the people on the ship, and then concert when they come back as well. But these are little things which for us, maybe we're not so aware how these little things can change their lives completely, these bonding times. And it's basically what we're working for. It's for the kids, and trying to, the world itself doesn't need improving. We need to improve ourselves as people. And then the world will, the planet will be fine. It's just, this is where we have to be so careful about what we do with the kids. They're the most fragile link in the whole chain, our kids. And they're so left aside. We're not being, as parents, we're not conscious of their education. Basically, it happens in many places. They're being taken to school just so that the parents can work and have their, their whole, their jobs that, finish at 5 in the afternoon. but what happens in all those hours? Like, what responsibility do we as teachers have is so, so important. And yeah, I just, I mean, we can talk long about these things
It's
of
such a
education and
powerful
stuff.
message, such a powerful message. And I love, what you say about improving ourselves as human beings. And of course, that's what the arts do. They make us better human beings. And
Exactly.
and that is the core. That's the core of everything. And um, we also do a lot of education at Meany Center, and our programs are free for K through 12 youth and also for the University of Washington students as well. And that's our future, our young people. And this is just such an incredible story. You also have recently won an award for a book, a children's book that you've written. Could you just say a couple things about that?
Yeah, well, Marnie Folgerson, she contacted me because she writes, wonderful children's books that are to inspire kids. Just stories that were, uh, when the children read it, they can actually maybe be more confident about themselves or know that they can, have dreams and that they can, if they work enough for them, they will come true if they're there, and that we can do changes in our world if we have the mindset upon it. So she told me, I think your story might be something. I mean, I'd love to do something with this. So we worked on the text, and then it came out and with beautiful illustrations and. Yeah, and I'm very very happy that it's I mean, it's out there. If it inspires the kids, that's, I think, a great thing. I think we all look up to, different people and different stories that have also, in a way, touched us and made us believe in what we're doing.
Mhm. And finally, my last question is, you have a program, a wonderful program that you've put together for Meany, which includes artists from Spain and from Chile, a range of different time periods. And can you speak a little bit about that program and how what you thought about when you put it together?
Yeah, well, the idea was to combine, the Chilean music, which is not so well known elsewhere, and there's beautiful music, which I went through and looked at which ones, I have to love. I love what I play. It happens. And since you spend hours and hours and hours. You dedicate so much time to each of these pieces, and I had been given this flexibility of choosing the program completely, so I was like, okay. And I looked through the Chilean composers that had these big works, and the ones that I found I had never played, and I'm in love with them right now. Enrique Soro, he's a composer that's I would say more romantic in essence, um, from the early 20th century. So there's a sonata by him. I'd say, it reminds you maybe Brahms or some Chopin or some, it has influences of the European romantic composers. And there will also be a more um, contemporary, but based on folk themes.
Hmm.
So I really like that. It
Okay.
has some of the most traditional music of Chile put into the piano basically, and it's two composers there, Santiago Vera and Jaime Cofré, with different approaches, I would say. Santiago Vera, he takes music of Violeta Parra. She's an icon in the folk music, folkloric. Um, you say in English folkloric, right? The
Right, folk
traditional
music.
folkloric, yes. And she was a wonderful musician, and she made songs which also are part of the Chilean, um, like I would say, heritage today. I mean, it's everybody knows who she is and everybody knows her songs.
Mhm.
And he brought this into a suite where he kind of weaves the different songs and works with their themes and makes this wonderful suite. And then we also have Jaime Cofré,
Mhm.
which he actually takes more than like inspired in specific songs. It's more of the different kinds of styles of dances, of songs, of styles of music in this folkloric tradition.
Mhm.
And we have also Alfonso Leng.
Mhm.
He wrote, they're like little poems, I would say musical poems,
Mm.
based on poetry by Pedro Prado.
Mm.
I will play three of the five. And then we have the Spanish music, which I love very much the Spanish music. And that's in a way the old world for Chile, that,
Mm.
the
Mhm.
and here we have music of the Falla and Granados.
Mhm.
In the Falla, we have Serenata Andaluza and the ritual of fire, the
Mhm.
dance ritual of fire,
Mhm.
which is, super colorful, and it has this, the story behind of this enchantress and this whole love story behind, which is you know I mean, I love the storytelling.
Mhm.
Yes, and then Granados, which also has the storytelling in the piece. Well, the bigger piece that I'm playing. First, I will play Danza Oriental of the Spanish dances, and then I will be playing the El Amor y la Muerte, which is based on Goyescas,
Mhm.
which are, I mean, this is Goyescas suite,
Mhm.
but it's based on the Goya paintings, basically. So it has, you can kind of imagine the story of El Amor y la Muerte, which is, love and death.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I think that's great music.
Great music, and great, great sources. Wonderful, exciting to be able to present this work at Meany. And
Yeah.
I could go on about things that's sparking, but I wanted to just end with one question. I was watching the beautiful documentary that was made about you, and in it, it speaks about the role of Bach in your days.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you could share a little bit about that and the importance of bringing Bach in to your practice and how that sort of shapes you as a musician, maybe quickly. Yeah.
Well, I love Bach.
Yeah.
Bach is, for me at least, it kind of calms the energy, calms the mind, calms everything, and kind of puts me in a state where, it opens everything. It opens your ears, it opens your spirit, it opens your mind, and it's yeah. I love to play Bach. I love to begin the day with Bach. I love we recently played the Goldberg Variations for two pianos with one of my colleagues here. We played it here and we played it in Chile as well. And it just, I don't know. You just you play Bach, and or I at least, I feel like a better person when I play Bach. It's music which is well, we know it's not that it's meant for people, it's meant for, the divine. The inspiration is, God, and I think that also makes the music vibrate in a place which connects directly kind of with our spirit. I feel, at least. Mm.
Thank you. A beautiful way to end this conversation. So delighted to be welcoming you to Meany soon. And thank you for having this conversation across so much distance with me today. And I know that there are many, many people who are really excited to hear you and also to just learn more about your work. So this is a wonderful way to connect. And I heard you at the Seattle Symphony, and I just immediately thought, oh my goodness, this is an artist we must bring to Meany. So
Mm. Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm very, very delighted to be back. So thank you so, so much.